Hello and welcome everyone today to this webinar between OPSWAT and Emerson, where we're going to discuss Mind the Air Gap and how together Emerson and OPSWAT have solved critical infrastructure patching focused in distributed control systems and industrial automation environments. So for today, you have three speakers with you. There's myself, Itai Glick, and Nicholas Janiskovic, and I'll pass over to them and they can give an introduction. So first, Nick, would you like to give us an introduction to yourself, your background, and where you're from?
Yep, thank you, Ben. My name's Nicholas Janiskovic. I'm the Global Cybersecurity Product Marketing Manager for Emerson Power and Water Solutions. I've been with Emerson about 14 years in various roles, instructor. I've been product support, solutions architect, and now in marketing, I'm responsible for all of our cybersecurity products, including our partnerships with folks such as OPSWAT.
Thank you. And Itai?
Hi, thank you, Ben. Pleasure to be here. My name is Itai Glick. I've been in OPSWAT for almost 4 years now. In the industry, about 25 years of cybersecurity, OT cybersecurity, focus on protecting OT organizations. And my role at OPSWAT is the general manager for OT security and hardware engineering. And it's a pleasure to be here. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Itai. And just to round it all off, I'm Ben White. I'm the Global Industrial Control Partnerships Director here at OPSWAT. So I manage the relationships with Emerson and Nick on a day-to-day basis. And I'm also, I think, what we've classed now as the conduit between the two zones of Emerson and OPSWAT for the collaboration that we're working on. So as we go into today's webinar, what I wanted to do is just give a quick overview and introduction around the two companies. And the reason why this is such a strong and useful partnership for myself as well as Nick and obviously the wider industry, what we can see here in two statements is that Emerson are providing distributed control systems that are controlling world's critical infrastructure, and OPSWAT are building best-in-class solutions to help secure and protect the world's critical infrastructure. And together, we are able to deliver a true partnership to end users to be able to give them a fully working and secure control system. So what I'll do now, I'll give an overview of OPSWAT, and then Nick, if you don't mind, you can do the same and you can give the overview of Emerson for us. So OPSWAT, where we've come from. So we're 20 years of innovation and over 20 years old now. That allows us or benefits us from serving over 80 countries with 2,000 or more customers in those countries. We then have around 1,000 employees spread globally with a support function that is a follow the sun approach. We also, if we like to look at some useful stats, 98% of US nuclear facilities benefit from one or more of our cybersecurity solutions. And we also pride ourselves in our OPSWAT Academy and the platform that we have helped to develop and our partners and our end customers utilize. And we have given out over 250,000 professional certifications based on OPSWAT Academy. So Nick, how can you beat that now?
So I represent Emerson. We've been around for about 135 years. We have about 150 countries represented that we serve. 73,000 employees globally. We have two automation platforms, Delta V and Ovation. I represent the Ovation side of our family. We provide support for critical infrastructure portions of power and water. And that is represented globally for us as well. And to do that, we have a power and water cybersecurity suite, and we have over 800 installs of that cybersecurity solution globally as we speak.
Great, thank you very much, Nick. So that won't be the first and the last time we hear from Nick today, but what I'll do now is I'll bring back Itai for us, and Itai can give us the overview of the products that have helped to develop the solution that Emerson Power and Water Solutions are now actively taking to their customers and into the market. So Itai, over to you.
Thank you, Ben. Yes, of course. So talking about the MetaDefender endpoint, it's important to share some history. About 20 years ago, when OPSWAT started, it started as a language to talk between security controls solutions. And that language became the SDK of the endpoint. That SDK allows to detect vulnerabilities in the device, allows to detect missing patches, allows to detect compliance issues on your device, and eventually it was sold and is sold to many tier 1 organizations like Cisco and Palo Alto, and they are implementing it in their secure access solutions. What OPSWAT has done in parallel is developed its own endpoint security solution, which is called the MetaDefender Endpoint, which is capable of detecting vulnerabilities in the OS or in the different applications installed on the device, automatically do patching for those applications and the operating system to understand and monitor the device posture, whether you have the anti-malware running and updated, for example, and also allow you to be deployed, of course, as a solution, whether it's air-gapped cloud or on-prem. Finally, it's all connected to centralized management that we'll cover in a second, and of course, providing you detailed compliance and reporting facilities so you can manage and audit your organization. The MetaDefender endpoint does first a deep compliance. It's able to detect over 5,000 different applications on your device and see whether they are running correctly, they are updated, their signature updated, and this could be anti-malwares, backup solutions, device encryption solution, firewall solution, all of the security controls that you would find in a typical endpoint in the organization. And then after that, we are able to detect vulnerabilities in a large amount of applications that are typically installed on the computer by either the end user or the organization. And on top of that, automatically patch them in order to make sure the device stays and remains compliant. Let's go to the next one. And when looking on all of those devices, you might find organization with 10,000 devices, and you would not want to manage them one by one. So we have a unified management solution for all of the endpoints. In addition, it can manage also other products from OPSWAT in the same dashboard. It allows you to centralize the updates process, to centralize the vulnerability, and to gain information about what's there in your inventory. You can define different policies for different groups. For example, you have a site that has a different set of devices, and then a site that have another set of devices. You can decide different policy, when to update, how to update, what is critical and what is not. Enforcing license control, and of course, like mentioned earlier, reporting, so you would pass those audit requirements when you need to.
So thank you very much for that, Itai. Is there any other bits you want to add?
No, that's all good.
Okay, no problems. So thank you for giving the overview of the two products. So Nick, introducing you back onto the screen now, you could want to take forward and discuss around what Power and Water Solutions are bringing to the market.
Thanks, Ben. I'm going to talk about our Power and Water cybersecurity suite and how the patch management fits into that. Next slide. So we provide patch management as part of our solution, and it's just one of the modules, but it's a very critical module. And we had used a previous product for about 10 years. And as we were getting ready to launch our biggest release, Ovation 4.0, we found that there was a problem with our previous product, and it was not able to handle the change that Microsoft did with Server 2025 for the way that it handles patching. They added a checkpoint to the mix where the patch has to check back to a certain point in time to then catch you up. And the previous product that we used was WSUS based, and pretty small team, and they were unable to technically resolve this issue. In addition to that, Microsoft about the same time announced a deprecation of WSUS. And so we wanted to look forward to see what the next solution might be, because Microsoft had not yet announced what their replacement for WSUS would be. And that posed a problem for us. So what we did is we started engaging with other vendors, OPSWAT being one of those. We put together about 45 design requirements to issue to the vendors that we were looking at. And then we kind of scored all of the vendors based on, those design requirements, in addition to things like commercials and things, other things from a business relation standpoint. And one of the things that really highlighted OPSWAT to us was their commitment to improving the product anywhere there might have been something that we felt was an opportunity for improvement. And they had a good promise for that, and they had a great answer for most of the design requirements right out of the box. So they were really a pretty easy choice for us. Next slide. So there's really three things here that we're looking at. One is the cybersecurity partnership. That partnership really has been a critical advantage, I think, for us because the OT nature of critical infrastructure is kind of unique. And a lot of the products out there are very IT focused and not OT focused. And with OPSWAT having a history and founding it with an OT mindset, they are keen to answer the needs specific to that industry rather than a larger scope of IT products out there. So that partnership has proved to be very useful, and it has allowed us to really create what we feel is a best-in-class patch management solution, purpose-built for our customers, but really I feel it will work for the majority, if not any OT customer out there. And it is, revolves around their two pieces of software, the MetaDefender Endpoint and the MyOPSWAT Central Management. And this really has an advantage of giving the customer that single pane of glass solution. And the other part of it is that there are other places that we can go and work together within this product and ecosystem, so that I'm not only providing them patch management. In the future, I have other options to provide as well. All right, so I'm going to go a little bit more into kind of how the solution works and how the solution evolved for us together. Next slide, Ben. Yep. So here is kind of just an overview of kind of what is provided within this for us, and some of the things that I felt were really important. So the MetaDefender endpoint automatically identifies and knows the patches that the endpoint needs. This is really critical for our customers because it reduces the decision making on their part. And then it allows us to provide patches like Microsoft Windows patches, Edge patches, Office 365, SQL, anything that we really would consider to be third party to the Ovation platform. Those patches can be provided via the MetaDefender endpoint and the Central Management Center. Deploys the security patches to our workstations and Windows servers that we provide to our customers as part of the control system. And then we have that central management part of all of the endpoints that makes it easy to use, get reports, and pull all those things out. The other big thing, and as you guys noticed, the Mind the Air Gap slogan with this presentation is air gap deployment capability was a critical requirement for us. None of these software solutions would have been selected if they did not have this air gap deployment capability. And OPSWAT was able to provide an air gap capability for us. And I think in the long run, it's going to provide us a much more feature-rich air gap capable deployment than many other vendors would have been capable of. The cache node was another thing that OPSWAT was able to provide for us. And the cache node really works for wide area control systems. The idea here is to reduce the load of patching endpoints across the wide area network, or in a centralized model to separate facilities or separate plants. Reduce that traffic over the wire. The Microsoft patches are only getting bigger and bigger, and that's part of the reason why Microsoft put the checkpoint patch in, was to attempt to reduce that size, but they're only going to get larger. And we didn't want a customer to be pushing 20, 30 endpoints of patches at a time and potentially degrade their network reliability. In critical infrastructure, reliability and uptime are the most important aspects. And so we wanted to have a solution or an option to help reduce that. And they were able to deliver that through the cache node capability. The other thing that I did mention a little bit was that it also provides some additional trust to the patch files. OPSWAT has features around being able to sign the patches and do some checking along the process to make sure that the integrity of the patches has been not compromised, and that it is what the customer intended to download and put within the system. Slide. So this is just kind of a little bit of the workflow of how the patch management system works within the PWCS installation and the Ovation ecosystem. So our developers look at the external supply chain and all the patches that come out on a monthly basis, and we take a selection of those patches. They go through a testing and validation period. They are tested and validated to make sure that they don't have any negative consequences for our customer systems. You probably can remember a few years back and time gone that various vendors have had missteps with their patches and updates and have caused unfortunate circumstances for our customers. About 10 years ago, when this happened to us, we really kicked off this validation part. And really what this has allowed us to do is become the patch source for a lot of our customers, especially customers who are obligated from a compliance standpoint and regulation. And what we do is we test them and then we package them into a content pack that we will then upload to our Guardian digital platform. Guardian is our self-service portal and digital delivery mechanism for a lot of our content and services within the Emerson system. The customer will then take those patches and download them. And you can kind of see the footsteps there. That's kind of what we call netting in the old days. So they'll walk them from their internet capable device over to the MyOPSWAT central manager, where they will upload the patches to the server, and then be able to deploy them out to the endpoints that you can see there on the right. And then again, of course, the mind the air gap slogan there. We were talking while we were developing this, Ben, and, I kept thinking about, we kept talking about the air gap, and then, I'm thinking about all the times on TV, I see the buses and the trolleys and the trains in Great Britain, and they're like, mind the gap. And we kept joking of, well, mind the air gap. And it really just has become a stuck slogan at this point. And it really highlights it well.
It does. And I think as well, the one thing that we were always conscious of around the requirements, the 45 requirements, was the air gap. Probably the easiest way of putting it is the air gap, and how a customer is not introducing another vulnerability when they're trying to resolve a vulnerability or an issue with cybersecurity, i.e. patching. And it was one of them where it was, we were answering the problem now, and also trying to provide that reassurance that the problem in the future can be answered as well through the same partnership and the same solution. And you touched on it there, where signing of files, bringing them into the environment, kiosks, MFT, all of the solutions that are available to be able to enhance and make the customers mind that air gap. And Ite, if you want to jump in at any point, I mean, it's something that we've seen on site ourselves about the usefulness of when that file comes into the environment, it's still being delivered to site on DVDs. It's still coming on peripheral media. It's not just a connected network where files are hopping. I mean, you experienced one yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, when I was installing the system in the first installations, I really saw how they operate and how they bring things in, and it could be on DVD, it can be in USB, and that's always creating them a little bit of a inconsistency of usage. You don't know what's the policy, what's allowed and what's not when you're using this. And we wanted to make it clear that this is the right way to do it.
Thank you. So next slide, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Robs.
All right, so just a little bit more about, our patch program. So it is really critical for us to not disrupt our customer system. So I think that when you look at the whole patching chain from supply chain to end, it's very important that the customers be sure that what they're getting and what they're using is not going to interrupt the system or the services that they're delivering, whether it's power or water in our cases, or some other critical industrial process. And we've taken that very seriously, and the partnership with OPSWAT is allowing us to add to this feature enrichment, like Ben said, and Ite, with the MFT options, the signing of the files. Those are all things that will just build on the reassurance to our customers that what they have will not impact their system, or has minimal chance of impacting their system. The other thing that the partnership really allows us to do is expand and explore other things that we haven't been able to do with other products in the past, such as delivering our control system patches as part of an automatic patch management system. So collaborating with a partner like OPSWAT, we've been able to explore that at a much more effective option than we might have with other vendors. Next slide. So a little bit about the distribution. So yeah, we have our own Guardian platform, and this, like I said, is a full service download portal where the patches are posted each month. And we validate those patches and distribute here. The customer is able to download those patches for their system as part of a maintenance agreement with Emerson. And one of the things that I like also within the partnership is this is another point of collaboration with us. We can explore and look at how these two products can interact in ways that we can improve this delivery mechanism. So Guardian's a homegrown product for us. So we can take the three development teams, the Ovation, the Guardian team, and OPSWAT team, and really put our heads together and look at solutions on how we can further enhance this delivery mechanism.
And Nick, for the audience, they probably won't know this, but that's been proven to work before around a round table in a conference hall with a pack of Starburst jelly beans in the middle, hasn't it?
Yeah, we actually, we looked at a problem. We sat down and we were having some issues with the way a patch deployment was working, and we got everybody sitting at a table and really collaborated and got some really smart brain power and got it figured out. And we were passing files around and getting different teams involved around the world, and it was just really amazing to see the level of collaboration that we were able to achieve.
Yeah, it was indeed, and that's why obviously we're here today. Is a part of obviously the solution is the partnership and how it's going to be how it's helped to deliver and support this going forward now, especially as a globally distributed solution for you.
Absolutely.
Next slide. Then.
Yes, sir.
No problems.
All right, so a little bit about the patch deployment. So, you know, the MetaDefender endpoint and the MyOPSWAT central management is going to provide like that final security check for the patch deployment process. Hey, is this the file that we expect? It was, you know, signed, verified, and analyzed. You know, whether the customer uses a kiosk or an MFT solution in coordination with this, or just downloads the file, they can be sure that it's been a little bit more looked at than just downloading the files directly from the internet. We were able to, you know, overcome the requirement, like the checkpoint patch requirement that Microsoft threw into the mix. It also validates and confirms that the patches were installed on the endpoints. That was something that we had some trouble with our previous software. Is not always was it able to come back and truthfully and honestly tell that it did what it said that it did, and that posed some compliance problems for some of our customers, and that is no longer an issue for us. The centralized management offers a lot more options around controlling the patch deployments, including reboots, which is really critical in our environment because you can't just go through and reboot a machine anytime that you want. You may be disrupting critical operations. So a lot of these activities have to be much more controlled, and OPSWAT's been able to provide a very feature-rich environment to control a lot of these activities, which is really crucial to our customers. The visibility of vulnerabilities on the device, that has been an added feature that was really just something as a surprise win as we were checking out this product, and just is a great feature that is added in. And then, of course, the compliance checks that they check on from an endpoint status, just kind of getting a better visibility on whether or not, you know, things like the Windows firewall is turned on and whatnot. These are just really added feature enrichments that are an added benefit on top of just having a patch management solution. Next slide.
You took quick one, Nick. You touched on it there about you've just gone through a lot of the features, but the bit that I listened to and I liked was you were talking about end customer, and what you have. It shows and echoes in something I've learned as well, that Emerson's relationship with their customers is not just like a transactional, it's a real relationship and partnership with your end customers. And the features that we have had and we've delivered were not a Emerson feature request. It was a this is a market sanitized and need that our customers have had and been impacted by, and is a must in this product, not a nice to have. And that was really useful to see real identification of needs versus wants or must or would likes.
Yeah, Emerson is a very customer first organization, and we have a very close collaboration with our customers through, you know, our users group. So we have a specific Ovation users group, and we use that to really keep a close relationship with these customers. That it is a user-driven, group and organization. They provide direct feedback to us, and we take action on that. And OPSWAT was able to really jump in and take advantage of that as well, and sit down with a lot of our customers and get the feedback directly from them on how this product needs to work for them. And really, part of that was this. Oh, go ahead, Ite. Sorry.
I think one of the things that really helped us was one day that you invited us to join your user group, your user conference, and then we presented what we thought almost together that was a good solution. We got so much feedback from the customer, and then we said, okay, yeah, now we understand better what they need, and now we can satisfy them. That was crucial, I think, for the entire project.
Yeah, it really made that design requirements not as much as a wish list, but a reality, right?
Yes.
You kind of better understood the perspective of the customers and where those requirements came from. So yeah, one of those things was this concept behind the cache node. Our customers were very concerned about the impact of the network and the activity on the network that patching may have, particularly in high bandwidth situations within the plant, during and not disrupting anything. So they were able to implement this cache node feature for us, which really alleviates a lot of that concern and gets the patches out to the endpoints in a much more efficient way for larger systems that are spread out over a wide area network. All right, and at this point, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for attending the webinar. Thank you, OPSWAT, for inviting me to participate with you. We really enjoy the collaboration and partnership, and I think it's going a long way to help secure critical infrastructure with the two of our organizations working together.
Thank you very much, Nick. And just before you go, the penultimate slide. For the audience out there, let's have a look at the partnership and the features. And something I like about this is that both of you, Nick and Itai, get to give feedback 360 around what Emerson liked and what OPSWAT liked. OPSWAT from the point of view of working with a partner, truly features, what we developed, what we were able to enhance. And then Emerson, what you liked about OPSWAT, not just particularly around this need, but the wider potential. So, gents, fight over who wants to shout the loudest first.
I'll go first. Ite hesitated. I'll jump. So some of the things I liked for most is that the central management console, right? It provided that single pane of glass, and it also offers feature expansion for our customers. I'm not just providing them an agent that is a one-trick pony, to use a cliche term, but it has opportunity and solutions that are going to go beyond just patch management that we can explore and collaborate on. The other big thing was the critical vulnerability dashboard. I think that's really nice for our customers to see, and they can actually see in real time what actually are they taking care of by putting these patches in. They can kind of get that feel of instant gratification of, I did something, I made an improvement. The other big thing was, if I'm adding an endpoint to my architecture, we have a whole suite of products that we offer our customers to give a total protection package. If I'm adding an endpoint, I don't want to have a huge impact for little outcome. And one of the things that I saw was that they have a big outcome because there's places we can go, but that also the endpoint resource utilization was very low, very reasonable. So adding it was not a huge cost to the performance of the endpoint for my customers. And then their willingness to partnership with us and collaborate and make product improvements, because we're both aligned on that OT goal in protecting our customers. And we have that shared background and shared commitment, I think is going to take us further than a lot of us could probably imagine at this time.
Ite, what about you, mate?
I think what made this partnership really successful was the fact that there was a very huge collaboration between the groups, really getting to know to the detail what's needed, to know the customers, to understand each other, what is hard for us and what is complicated, and think together about innovative solutions to overcome those challenges, and really to bring the point of view that Emerson has with their customers to OPSWAT and give the knowledge from that on what we can do and how to operate, like the reboot thing to control the reboot, or the cache node, which is another item which was very interesting. And finally, when we were in the field, we were there together in the first installations, and that's also helped because we got immediate feedback from the deployment, from the customer, sees it in his eyes and what is hard for him and what is not hard for him, and even some changes that he wanted on the fly, which we saw as immediate need for him. We got to saying, hey, we need this. Unless we have it tomorrow, we cannot continue. So all the team jumped on and tried to resolve those issues overnight, and we continue. But working fast with the customers, first with the customer, is what makes this project successful. And the mentality of Emerson and the huge collaboration. Again, I can't emphasize enough how much the collaboration was important here.
Thank you. Just to add a couple of things to that, Nick, when you and it's obviously what's going on recently, the endpoint resource utilization, and obviously with the way that memory is going up and the resources associated to computer builds costs are going up, it's another point and key factor that we take for you liked but didn't see immediate need, whereas now going forward, actually that can save thousands on the type of equipment that customers are putting in for these needs, because the more and more you add, the more and more you need. Customers are finding that they're then impacted by the cost of it, not the effectively the providers of it. The other one that I liked as well that you talked about is the capability of deploying it, because it's a couple of questions that we normally get asked, and before we go into the questions, but one of them is around, and we talked about this a couple of times, is plants are large, or OT sites are large, system under considerations are large. Every vendor, like an Emerson, wants to be the number one solution across that platform or across that site, but they're shared a lot. And I think one of the things that really helped us was that ability to look at patching, but not just focus solely in one area to the benefit, again, of an end customer.
Right. Yeah, I totally knew going into this that if I provided a solution to the customer, the next question was going to be, well, how do I patch ABC system that's not yours, and can I use your tool? And one of the things that I really like is that we were able to add features, improve upon features that were already existing, that really allow a customer to be able to patch more than just, our Ovation platform in here. So, they can segregate out patches by groups, say that these patches are applied to different segments of my plant. They have a lot more control and granularity over that really will allow them to make the system flexible and use in other places within their organization.
Yeah, and I guess for you, Itai, getting that feedback from a partner who's not selfishly thinking about themselves and are thinking about a wider audience as the product owner, again, that emphasizes that collaboration, of what you saw and what you just talked about.
Yes, and so one of the things that every partner usually says, hey, I want everything tomorrow. Emerson were kind enough to prioritize it linearly, saying this I want first, and then that, and then that, giving us a pathway and guiding us what they need before, also to present it to their conference groups, also to present it to users, eventually to deploy to beta test. So we really took the project and cut it down to pieces, allowing us to really bring value quicker and constantly.
Okay, gents, any final points that we want to talk about before we close out? Anything you want last talk? No? Nick? Itai? I have got one last question that I might just chuck in there before we close out. Okay, so recent event or attack that required a patch. Itai, what do you think? How could this have solved or helped it, or the process?
I think in general, we can always see that patching is important, and we need to do it, and we need to make sure that we are in the latest patch as soon as possible. But we need to be careful about one thing: is we don't want a patch to create a trouble for us even worse than a malware. Okay, there were events with other security companies in the past that crashed systems because of an update. We want to, and this is what we built here with Emerson, they validate the patch, and then we push it to all of the customers, making it safe for use. The other thing that I want to point out is not a recent one, but the WannaCry attack a few years ago. This was clearly a patching issue. 3 months before the attack, Microsoft released a patch that if the customer would have deployed it, there wouldn't be any attack. So it emphasizes that it could happen at scale, and it can happen in air gap because eventually things move in, and sometimes there would be an attacker inside and he would wait for a trigger point to attack inside the network. So even when you think you're in air gap and you think everything is secure, keep doing the patching, because one day somebody would make a mistake, somebody would introduce malware to that environment, and if you're not patched, you would just have a carnival in your house.
Yeah, and really a solution like your OPSWAT patch management program really should make this a lot easier and cost effective for customers to maintain that patching level to protect them. And basic hygiene like patching is one of the best things that any customer can do to protect their system.
It does. Well, gents, we've come to the end. So thank you very much, Nick and Itai, for today and helping us to go over how we've solved critical infrastructure patching with Emerson and OPSWAT's collaboration. Thank you to the audience. And if you want to find out further information about OPSWAT, please scan the QR code or reach out to us in the chat or follow up with one of your local contacts. But thank you all. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Itai. And bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.